Forbidden Garden. Once upon a time, in a sleepy little village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a peculiar man named Mr. Haggerty. He was known for his odd, twisted smile and his love for gardening, but there was something sinister about Mr. Haggerty's garden that sent shivers down the spines of anyone who dared to venture near it. The garden itself was a sprawling, overgrown mess, a tangled jungle of thorns and wildflowers. It was hidden behind a wrought-iron gate, locked with a heavy padlock. A sign on the gate read, "Keep out," in bold capital letters, but it was the promise of forbidden secrets that lured the village children. One summer evening, when the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned a deep shade of indigo, 3 mischievous children named Emily, James, and Sophie huddled together near the garden's gate. They whispered secrets, their eyes wide with curiosity. "Have you heard the stories about Mr. Haggerty's garden?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. James nodded. "They say he grows the most unusual plants, plants that can talk and plants that can eat you." Sophie giggled nervously. "You don't really believe that, do you?" Emily was determined. "Only one way to find out." With trembling hands, Emily reached for the padlock. The children exchanged a nervous glance, and then she gave it a hard yank. The padlock fell open with a loud clank, and the gate creaked open. They entered the garden, and a gust of wind seemed to howl through the overgrown bushes. The moonlight painted eerie shadows on the ground, and the flowers whispered secrets in the wind. "Look!" James pointed to a towering plant that glowed an eerie shade of blue. Emily and Sophie moved closer, enchanted by its otherworldly beauty. The plant seemed to beckon them, and they couldn't resist reaching out to touch it. But just as they brushed their fingers against the plant's luminous leaves, the plant shivered and released a cloud of spores into the air. Emily, James, and Sophie inhaled them without realizing. Suddenly, the plants around them began to change. Their once vibrant colors darkened, and they twisted and contorted into grotesque shapes. Vines snaked toward the children, wrapping around their legs, binding them to the earth. Panicked, the children tried to scream, but their voices were stolen by the garden. They watched in horror as the garden came to life. Gnarled branches and thorny tendrils reached out for them, like the hungry arms of a malevolent monster. As they were slowly consumed by the garden, they heard Mr. Haggerty's eerie voice echoing in the wind. "No one should have trespassed in my garden." The garden swallowed them whole, leaving no trace of the children behind. And from that night on, the garden thrived, its strange and sinister beauty forever hidden behind the wrought-iron gate, guarded by the padlock, warning all who passed by to keep out. And so, in that quiet village, the legend of Mr. Haggerty's forbidden garden grew, reminding the curious and the foolish that some secrets should never be uncovered. The end.